final session is all about celebrating a lifetime of achievement, although I always stress that none of our award winners or our interviewers are done yet. Absolutely stress that, and Rodger makes sure of that. And AviaDev, we're not big believers in awards, to be honest. We do have people who push us to do these things, but we only offer one award. And this award is voted for by our advisory board. So it is a closed shop, but it is independently nominated, and then we have a short list, and that is then chosen by our advisory board. And it's named in honor of somebody who's done arguably more than anybody else to develop African aviation, Ato Girma Wake, the former CEO and chairman of Ethiopian Airlines, and also was chairman of Rwandair when I first met him when we started AviaDev in 2016. And he believed in us massively, and he really supported us and was, so free with his time. And we've done the session with him back in 2017. We presented him with the award, and then we named the award in his honor from then on. And we've had some amazing recipients. So Rafael Cucci, when he was at IATA, he's now with the AFRA team. We've had Chris Weigenthal, who was with ARSA, who's left ARSA now. We've had Adefunke Adeyemi, who's obviously now, she was with IATA at the time, now with AFCAC. We've had Sanjeev Gadia, who was here. Unfortunately, he had to leave first thing this morning after doing a big deal yesterday here, which is great. And of course, last year we had Rodger. And Rodger wasn't too well last year, so we did it by video last minute. Now, some of you might recognize there's somebody missing here. We're going to hear from him really, really shortly. But what I want to do before we do hear from him is I'd like to invite Rodger and Joao to come and take a seat. And as they come up, Susie's going to play them on. Wow. Okay, so it's time to get started. But as I said, there's somebody missing. So I think we need to hear from him.
Good afternoon, everybody. I wish you a very successful meeting in Namibia. I wanted to be there, but unfortunately, due to some assignment that I have from the government here, I could not participate in this year's meeting. I'm sorry for this last minute change, but as you all know, duty calls, and I had to be away. I knew Joao for the last over 20 years, and I knew how he was working and how much he contributed to African aviation. I'm very happy that he won this year's award, and I would like to congratulate Joao for winning the award. I want to wish you all a very good deliberation and a beautiful visit to beautiful Namibia. Joao, maybe this award could have come a bit earlier when you were still active before you retired like me, but it comes when it comes, as you know. And from our relationship in the last 20 years, I know how hardworking you are and how deeply you are involved in African aviation. So for me, it is not a surprise that when this award came to you. But I have a few questions for you. After you left Ethiopia, when you were a representative of Pratt & Whitney in Addis, you went back home and you became an advisor to LAB, and gradually you became the CEO of LAB. I know LAB is a national carrier. You, like me, you have worked for a national carrier. I want you to share with all participants the opportunities and the difficulties of working for a national carrier? This is my first question. As part of that, I would also want you to tell us what you have done to improve the tourism of Mozambique, because I know Mozambique has a lot of attraction. As a national carrier, did you manage to do anything to help develop tourism in Mozambique? The other questions that I have for you is, as a representative of Pratt and Whitney in Addis, you have done a lot of good things. For the sake of some of the African carriers who do not have a residence or representative of any OEM, what is the advantage of having a resident representative on the spot? And if there are some carriers that do not have a resident representative on any of the OEMs, what should they do to get one? As I said, I'm very happy that you won this award. I wish I were there to see you receiving this award. Now that I missed this opportunity of seeing you collect the award, I would like to come to Maputo and probably go stay in the old Polana Hotel. And then we go to Costa del Sol for a very good sea platter. Thank you very much. And I wish everybody very good stay in Namibia.
Just to say, these guys haven't seen that. I recorded that separately with Girma. So this is fresh for you, Joao. So
thank you.
You know what Girma's like. He doesn't like to waste an opportunity. So you've got about 3 questions there.
Oh, yeah, I know Girma very well, and I'm already preparing the prawns for him in the Polana and the Costa do Sol. Thank you so much, Ato Girma. I didn't know he can hear us. Huh?
No, that was recorded.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So do you want to respond to some of those things? He asked about national carrier and developing tourism and the opportunities and the challenges of running a national carrier.
I mean, I have to. I owe Ato Girma the response. And I mean, like being Ato Girma, you know, this is a very, very hot subject, being next to a privately owned airline representative. You know, there is an image about state-owned airlines that it's like a free ride. It's everything is easy. It's not. I mean, and it's possible. I mean, look at Ethiopian Airlines. And Ethiopian Airlines did it with Ethiopians, with everybody working, everybody aligned. One of the problems we have in these state-owned airlines is that we are not aligned. We get an instruction from top to do this, but then a department of the same state does something else that doesn't allow us to proceed. I can give you an example. When I took over as CEO, I went to the government and I said, look, I cannot fly to that destination. It's not feasible. We sign a commercial agreement with the state. State needs to, it costs money. So we would have to need to ask anyway for a subsidy. And we have 2 destinations where we do that. When I say we, is the airline. Now, it's definitely a very big challenge, you know, to respond to all the pressures you have when you are in a state-owned airline, and to respond to a public that thinks that you are a service provider to the consumer. You know, you're not. You're a business that needs to be run as a business. Ethiopian Airlines does that. Now, having said that, yes, you have to build by proper management, by clarity, transparency. You know, you have to run the business right, because sometimes you are called to do things that cost money, and that's the responsibility, like I think the government of Namibia said. But you cannot forget that you need to cooperate with other parties, like, I mean, and I'm sitting next to Rodger, and Rodger, you know, maybe can confirm that. We've always talked, we've always had plans together, and if we had, you know, gone longer, I'm sure we would have done more in that sense, and I believe that answers the first question. you know, it's easy sometimes because you can go to state like I saw in Ethiopia and say, look, this needs to happen. You know, like airports, for example, need to be subsidized. An airport costs a fortune, and some destinations have 1 flight a day or 3 flights a week. So, you know, that makes it easier for us. We have more access in that sense for that. Now, developing tourism in Mozambique, this is an example that we had done by creating a robust domestic main network, and we had towards the end of 22 we started getting some spare cash, and we increased flights, because I always say in connectivity and new destinations, if you go there when the signs are too strong, it's too late. Either people found another way to do it, or somebody else is going to go there. So you need to do it ahead, and you need to be strong. You need to have a strong balance sheet, so you're able to say, oh, this is a good destination, let me do it. And I tell you, very soon after, tourism will feel it. I mean, look at Namibia. It is there. There are beds, there are animals. In the case of Mozambique, there are animals, there are beaches, and there is an airport there, we go there. And soon after, it gets full. In the case of being a resident rep, that's a tough question, because I can tell you, I've taken the job because I wanted to learn about engines. I wanted to know the nitty-gritty of the engines, and I went there. But then soon after, I remember '96, I went to Cape Verde, and they were bringing a 757, and they said, okay, we're going to start to fly to Boston. And they had flown inter-islands. And I said, you guys are going to start to fly to Boston? And I said, no, let's work together. So we put together an operation. We brought 5 Ethiopian pilots. We brought 3 Ethiopian engineers from around Africa. They were not forcibly in Ethiopia. And the airline became a success. The pilots moved from the right seat to the left seat, and the operation set up. So that's what I didn't like doing. And then I became more of customer management assistant, and with Ethiopian, you know, that's what I did. And I worked for 20 years with Ethiopian Airlines, after Zimbabwe, Senegal, supporting Air Afrique. I saw the demise of Air Afrique when I was there. But then I saw the success of Ethiopian, which, you know, we did as much as we could. We helped until the 787s came in, and I was transferred to outside Africa. And I don't know, I ended up in Mozambique, maybe because I wasn't staying in Africa. And Mozambique, I went to the airline. I think I answered the 3 questions.
No, you did. And we've kind of jumped ahead, but I wanted, while it was fresh, to do that. Okay. And I really want to hand the floor over to Rodger, but just let's rewind right to the beginning. You know, I think we're all fascinated to know what sparked your interest in aviation, or was it engineering as a young boy? You know, this is a lifetime achievement award. You've talked through some of those achievements. Girma obviously gave the bio, but if you answer that, and then obviously it's Rodger's opportunity to talk to you. But yeah, talk to us about your early years.
Well, look, I started in '83 assembling APUs. And the other day I said, I think I said this on Wednesday, I said, look, maybe your parents weren't born, but now I'm thinking their grandparents weren't born, because it's been a long time ago, almost 40 years. And you know, it was for me a great learning experience. And one thing I learned is that, I think Sean said, this is a disease that you get and you don't want to get rid of. And you know, I had opportunities to go out to other industries and business to do something else, agriculture, which I really like, but I never was able to leave the airline industry, and I had stayed there. So I went, and I remember I spent 4 years in Seattle, seeing airplanes being built and test flights, etc. And all this is fascinating, and I really recommend. And when I was talking to the student pilots the other day, I said, look, you guys do your pilot license, but think that there's many other things to do in aviation. I mean, you think that, first of all, I told them, I said, when you take off that solo flight, remember one thing, you are alone in that cockpit, but you're not lonely. You know, all these people here are behind you, and they'll make sure your life, your career will be successful. And it's amazing, because some people think that, I compare this to do business, like if somebody has a wound and you sell for $1,000 a Band-Aid, that's fine, you'll buy it and you'll fix it, but you'll never see him again. Here, you know, you have to establish a relationship. And it's very important. I didn't ask Ato Girma his permission for this, but I'll tell a story that happened between me and him.
Oh, please.
Can I? Yeah, I'm sure he will allow me. But to say relationships are important. I mean, Airlink is an example. Like I said, we always communicated. We had situations where we were stuck, both sides, and we left everything we had to do to help each other, because we are there to do that. But I'll tell you one thing about this duration of the relationship. We were dealing with a big asset, and I was on the other side of the table with my boss and my boss's boss, dealing on a leasing rate. And it was 60 days, 90 days, and the conversation went for hours, and the other side was not really accepting, and we were discussing and putting conditions, take the components of the engine, bring the price down. And then, after all this, Ato Girma asked, you have a 60 days relationship, you have a 90 days relationship, do you have a 46 years rate? And the guy looked at him and said, well, you want to have this engine forever? He said, no, I'm asking for a 46 years lease rate, meaning that you must look at the duration of your relationship and not look at that actual business that's happening at that time. And that lesson I carry forever in my life.
Long-term view. So Rodger, please join us and
thank you, John.
Reflections.
Joao, you are a man, in my opinion, of great humility. And I can elaborate on that until the cows come home. I don't see a spot of arrogance in you at all. And I think that is one of your most phenomenal characteristics that has brought you through your career of over 40 years in the aviation game to where you are now, having stepped down as the chief executive of LAM. What I'd like to ask you, and I've got a bunch of questions if you don't mind, but the first one is, tell us about your leadership style. How do you lead? And recognizing that leadership is not a popularity contest. What's your leadership style?
Thank you very much, Rodger. And I mean, the way you started, I also think the same about you. Actually, some examples you set and the leadership style is very much something I look very close. But I must say something. When I was asked the question, do you think LAM has a solution? And I was actually sitting in Holland in the graduation of my eldest daughter, and I said, oh, give me some time, I need to think about that. And I said, yeah, it's possible. And he said, what do you need? I said, I just need those people. And that's, I think, what leadership must start with is with the people you have. And the people are the center. I tell you one thing. When I came in, people were very surprised because I didn't bother too much with looking at how you do a flight plan, how you fly, how you do this, the network, etc. The first thing I said, look, I want to have a hospital, a crash, a restaurant, and a gym. And it took me about 3 years with the COVID. But you see, people feel that you attend to them. Mothers or fathers of young kids said, okay, I have a place to put my child here. So I first looked at that personal aspect. I remember in COVID, one thing that I did, when it started, you had 5, 6 people with positive. I called everybody on a Friday afternoon, I had a list for numbers I called. And then it got to like 40 people with COVID positive, and I spent like 6 hours on the phone. But I thought it was very important, and I can tell you, today, I have messages on my phone that people say, oh, I remember that time. And when you ask these people to do something, it's amazing what they give you. And it's not like the Band-Aid. I'm not trading one thing for the other. I'm establishing a close relationship. One time somebody asked me, what do you do in the airline? I said, I don't do anything. I just get these people to do things for me. Having said that, yeah, you have to give the resources, you have to make promises. That's one thing that I don't like to do. I don't like to make promises. I prefer to come and deliver. But in this business, it's so tight that I had to make promises. Okay, in 2 years from now, you'll get that. And people believed and were expecting that. Until we turned positive and were able to start doing that. At the beginning, I said to people, you go in the morning and come back in the evening, do your work and come, and then take a rest next morning. And now, at the end, I was doing, okay, you go and stay. So I was delivering the promises that I made, because that's very important. The other thing is I say, and again, an expression I don't like to use much, is open door policy. No, not open door policy, open heart policy. Because I mean, your door can be locked or can be open. It doesn't make much difference. The difference it's make is your connection with the people. And you know, I knew people that had children with special needs, and I mean, I remember asking a supplier, you know, I need a special chair I don't get in Mozambique, and you know, he did. He dealt with the parents, because I believe that that's the job as a leader, is to make people feel happy. They know to do things. You know, the other thing I say sometimes, and I must now be careful and talk it on the other sequence. In the other sequence, I used to say, okay, what I want to say is that in Mozambique, for example, I had 10 offices in the country, and 10 offices out of 10, 7 were run by women. And I promoted, and I gave them some more responsibilities, etc. And it was a major success. And I had lots of pressure to take some of them out, but they stayed there. And I always said, they're not there because they're women. They're there because they are the best people I have for that office. And I feel a bit bad when I say, you know, let's put women there. No, let's put the best ones, but let's not refrain, you know, depending on their gender. And that made a very big difference. And I think men woke up and said, oh, I must work better, you know, to get that job, and not just because I'm the man in the area to do it. So I think I lost a bit of track on the answer. But of course, the other side is, you know, to deal with the leadership. Yesterday we talked about leadership here in the CEO's panel, and I was thinking, it's ownership, you know. It's a very big problem. You need to know how to deal with the ownership, because the ownership expects you to get something delivered, doesn't know what the resources you need to do. And then when things go well, and by the way, this is something we have to be very careful as leaders, things go well, people, the ownership starts interfering, starts trying to take advantages or doing changes that are not due. So this is a very difficulty that we have as leaders. That's what I wanted to add.
Well, you've actually led very nicely into my next question, Joao, while you're having a good sip of water, because you need to. This answer can be quite long. You left LAM, in my opinion, prematurely. I don't think you were ready to leave LAM, and I don't think that LAM was ready to let you leave. But you left, and I think that with the benefit of hindsight, when you reflect on everything that you did in the way of bringing LAM to the credible organization that it was at the time that you did leave, if you had to present a single message to the parent, as in a state-owned enterprise shareholder, and not specific to LAM, because I don't want to throw you under the bus, but what would that message be?
Well, I would go again back to the people that are there. I mean, the people that are there, that I left there, are amazing. I mean, they can do a lot with very little. Okay, so what I would say, okay, it's always needed. I agree to bring outside. I mean, we had at one stage consultants from Dubai that came and did an assessment. It was very good for us. It really opened the eyes. Bring that, but base your growth, base your operation, your network on the people you have. So that would be my recommendation. You know, keep that group of people doing. You know, grow them organically. You know, bring sometimes assistance from outside, but giving them the right resources, they will do wonders. And we have examples: Airlink, Ethiopian Airlines, many, Kenya Airways. You know, Jumbo. I don't want to mention names because there will be many that are successes with the people they have. They don't need to bring and interfere with the management. And I would also say that the ownership should look at data. You know, input and output. I mean, are you getting, you know, like a sausage, you know, you put meat and you want to have so many sausages. Tell that to the management and demand from them. If need be, bring some from outside to take a picture and make a report.
Before handing back to you, John, if you don't mind,
please.
You know, I don't want to hog the forum at all, but you know, I want to just share with the forum here some of the characteristics of this gentleman, Joao, and this goes about the importance of an airline, and the relevance and the purpose is all about customers, getting customers from A to B, delivering a service, the best possible service you can, creating a memorable experience, and it doesn't always go well. Joao has had the ability to rely on his friendships and the relationships that he's built over time to make sure that when, and I'm going to use that term again, Elise, when the shit hits the fan, what do you do? And, you know, Joao had the strength of character on one occasion to give me a call and say, Rodger, I need your help. I have an aircraft stuck on runway 03 right at our Tambo. It's causing chaos. It's just happened right now. What can you do to assist? Do you remember that, Joao?
Very well.
And, you know, the relationships that Joao has built, I took the call firstly, instantaneously. I knew there must have been something that he needed. And the answer was, Joao, whatever we can do, you've got it. Now, that's a little bit from my end of it, but here's how the wheel turns. So we had an aircraft that got stuck, ran off the end of the runway at Pemba, and I didn't have to pick up the phone. Joao phoned me. He said, Rodger, I understand you've got an aircraft run off the end of the runway. He said, this is not payback time. He didn't say those words, but he said, whatever you need, you've got. And that's the character of Joao. One of the things that he did send back is a beautiful picture, a lovely photograph of a giant Mozambican spitting cobra that was one of the encumbrances to getting the aircraft freed up out of the mud at the end of the runway at Pemba. That's the character of Joao, and I'd like us all just to recognize that. He is phenomenal.
Thank you.
I'd also like to just jump in there because, you know, my experience, I remember, and I'm sure this is the same for so many of you in the room, when we started AviaDev, you know, nobody knows who we are. I'm just some English bloke in Africa. What you're doing? What are you trying to sell me? And you gave me so much time. You treat everybody the same, and you will always give them time. And it's that humility that is just unbelievable. Now, what I'd like to do, because we've done some business talk, is sort of zoom out a little bit. You talked about how you, when you went into LAM, you wanted an open heart policy, and you treated them like members of your family. And we have members of your family in the audience. So what role have they played in your career and supporting your life?
Yeah, thank you very much. But let me first,
Please
mention something about this experience I had. And again, this is the humility on this side of the podium. That day I called. I mean, and I have. It's a relationship that we've been building. We've been talking. We've been discussing other things. And that day, when I had this airplane stuck and blocking OR Tambo. I mean, I don't know if I didn't even look for the name. My finger went and pressed Rodger, and I knew I would get it. And Rodger answered the phone and put it on loudspeaker and called the people and said, "Look," and I could see it happening, and immediately I could breathe again, and I knew it was sorted out. I don't know what happened after. The airplane was at the gate, and thank you very much for that, Rodger. This other episode in Pemba was amazing. Again, I didn't think about anything else. I got the report. I said, "Who do I call?" Rodger, and I had already guys there deployed. I said, "Hey, you go back to the airport, do this." And I knew Rodger, was going to conduct this operation. And yeah, I don't believe in coincidences. This snake was sent by somebody. It was a beautiful Mozambican spitting cobra. I have pictures. I can share one of these days. And the cobra, this tough job because there was no hardware there. The cobra was there, looked at this, see, everything okay, went away and didn't bother. The only thing I said, please don't kill that cobra because people like to kill snakes here. Don't kill it because, I mean, this is a nice story. If they had killed the cobra, it would not be such a nice story for nature. For nature. And by the way, the airport of Mozambique is also here, and they helped a lot in that sense. Now, family. Look, I was married in '91.
Wow.
And we both traveled a lot, so we had kids. So my wife is here, Shana, she works in agriculture, and Sophia and Diana are somewhere. Diana is here. And you know, when you told me, oh, somebody brought a family, I said, well, let's all come and let's visit Namibia, because I mean, the last time I was in Namibia was under very bad circumstances. So I said, I need to look at a better Namibia. So we're going to Etosha and you know, enjoying some time here, and it's a great family time, and that's what AviaDev, you know, provides, is, you know, this environment, and you go there and do it. And you know, I started in '91, a few months after I was married. I didn't ask Shanna permission, but I'll tell you the story. I think I said this last month for the first time. It was a conference in Cairo, 300 people. I was very nervous, a young engineer doing a presentation for 300 people, and there was a problem. And I was coming from Seattle, Shanna was coming from Harare, and this is to show also, you know, the customer service attitude of Africans. And I delivered my speech. I was exhausted. She called me and said, look, I could not fly. And I said, great. Ethiopian refused boarding because she had a ID fare ticket, and she didn't fly. Unfortunately, the Addis Cairo flight was hijacked to Rome. And it was very bad hijacked. You know, they were mistreating the passengers. So I said, oh, great, you didn't show up. So she came on another flight, and I was tired. I went outside, a naive young engineer. I gave some money to a driver, a taxi driver, said, go pick my wife and bring her here. Of course, he took the money, never showed up. And then you know, I was sleeping. I was very tired. And at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from the reception and saying, you know, my wife, being who she is, she found out her way out. You know, taxi showed up at the hotel, the Khan El Kayum, this big palace, and the guy calls me at the room and he says, Mr. George, your wife is here and she's running to your room. Shall I send security to stop her, or can I let her go? So, you know, these memories of these conferences are amazing, and this is what makes us strong and go on.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Rodger, we've got a couple of minutes left, and yeah, be great for you
Joao, sorry, can you hear me? Right, Joao, you're too young to leave the industry. I know this is a lifetime achievement award, but as the young man that you are, what is your plan to stay involved in the airline side of the industry?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. And you know, when John called me about with the award, I said, well, why did I get this? And I was thinking behind, I was not finding reasons, because many people had worked with me. I mean, you know, I put a lot of effort in training, and I believe that training is a very important element of connectivity. You know, we need to have training, we need to have alignment, we need to have lots of things. But then I said, no, I stopped thinking. I said, okay, I know this is for me to work forward. Then I changed my mind. I said, look, I need to stay in the industry and go. What I wanted to do, and I've already started doing, is I'm picking and choosing not jobs that are long term, but, you know, some services and products and elements that can facilitate airlines to grow fast. In this conference in Cairo, we were talking about almost the same things we're talking now. And I think we're carrying maybe 2% of the world traffic. We're carrying 2% of the world traffic. We need to start doing things fast to do it. You know, these young people in Africa are amazing. You give them something and they go off a tangent. I mean, look at cell phones and banking. These people have taken that bigger than Europe. Okay, we have the raw material for producing people that can do the work, and we have the raw material for consuming the work that we do. And it's billions of people, so what are we waiting for? We need to do something. Africans like to VFR. It's very important to visit friends and relatives. They have to go to ceremonies, they have to go and see places. You know, I should say we. I mean, I want to do that as well. I don't know. I visited 48 countries in Africa, but I know the airport. That's it. So I want to know more. And with this, I want to, you know, promote airlines that quickly start up. I'm working with a startup in Burundi, if I can say. I'm working a little bit with Cabo Verde to reset the traffic there. So that's what I want to do, is to have all the players and understand a little bit of the importance of consolidation. That's what I'll concentrate on.
Fantastic. So what I would like to do is if the team can just throw up the slide with Ato Girma's picture on it. And I think because I'm going to send this to him next week, I think even though we've run out of time, I think it'd be lovely for you to just address Ato Girma and the role that he's played in your career and life.
Okay.
It's there. So just talk.
Oh, he's
he's behind you. He's there. He's looking down on you. Yeah, he's on the screen behind you.
Oh, okay. Hi, Ato Girma.
There you go. You can talk to him if you want. That's
can you hear me? He can hear me.
No, he can't hear you. No.
Ah, okay,
it's just
okay.
a picture.
Okay, sorry. No, Girma, look, 20 years. It's been a very long time, and again, we had very difficult moments together. We had very nice moments together, and the best thing that I've seen is, to grow, to leave an airline, to start with an airline in 2003 that had 12 aircraft. 3 were new, the rest were old stuff. To what is today, and it's the result of the conviction, the vision, and the determination you had to make things happen. I mean, it's the only CEO of an airline that I saw addressing the staff and saying, I'm going to take 30% of your salary. And please thank me for that, because that's our survival. And a few years later, he put it back to their pockets, and now it's what it is. I remember people from the international community, and I won't mention which organization, saying, Ethiopia are now investing $123 million in a terminal and a runway. They have people starving. Look at what they've done today. How many people are feeding their families, because of that industry. So my experience with Ato Girma is, again, and maybe that's where I learned from. It's, extremely humble, extremely simple, clear, and when he promises something, he delivers it. This is one big lesson I got from him, in addition to the 46 years relationship lease rate that I got from him. Okay, so I will never forget moments, like I said, difficult ones, where he walked into my office, closed the door and said, let's think together, let's do this. And this is one of the biggest memories I take, from him, and I use all the time.
And that's leadership. It's courage of your convictions, and he was never shy to do that. And what I'd recommend, if you're interested, is all of the Lifetime Achievement Award interviews are available now on the AviaDev YouTube channel. The one I did with Ato Girma in 2017 is there. He tells some amazing stories about being told by his government to buy Russian aircraft, and he buys Boeings, and Richard Branson offering him in Virgin Nigeria for $1. It's hilarious, it's brilliant, but you can watch Rodger's session, you can watch Sanjeev's and Funke and all the guys that have won it before, Raphael and Chris as well. So what we're going to do now is present you with the award. We're going to leave this on the screen, if that's all right, guys, so that Girma's in the picture. And we'll get a photograph and just say thank you so much, Joao, for all that you've done and continue to do and will continue to do in the future. And thank you, Rodger, for your such generosity of your time this week as much as anything else, and for all that you've been doing too.
Thank you, John. And if I can just say one last message
of course.
To Joao, if you don't mind. Joao, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a pleasure to pass the baton on to you.
Thank you.